Hello, Murray Newlands here with another episode of Performance Marketing Insider TV. Today I'm speaking with Dave from Flippa. Dave, tell me, what does your site do?
We're the web's biggest marketplace for buying and selling domain names and websites, but mainly websites, to be honest. We are very good at websites and established web businesses. That's what we focus on, and we do it better than anyone else.
What are your tips for selling a site?
When you're selling a website, the key is to know why you're selling it, number one, and to communicate as best as possible with any potential buyers. So the hardest part is to predict in advance what someone is going to want to know about that website that you're selling, and then to encapsulate that information in a way that makes sense to them. Everyone has a question, obviously. If it's so good, why are you selling your website? And there's always a good reason. All of us only have a certain amount of brain space, so often that's the reason, is that you've got a great site, but you just don't have enough space in your head, enough space in your life to run it anymore. So you need to have a compelling answer for that, and then you need to be willing to really communicate with each individual buyer or potential buyer of your website. Communicate enough so that they can trust you, so they really come to grips with you and are comfortable doing business with you. And once you've got to that point, you're very likely to make a really successful sale. We absolutely see on Flippa that the people who communicate the best are those who make the best sales.
So then, what are some tips for buying a website?
Well, a lot of the tips are exactly the same for buying a website. You need to communicate really well with the seller, because once again, you have to be seen to be a trustworthy person to do business with. You need to be professional. You need to, we're talking, potentially tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars here. In that context, you need to be trustworthy. It's a really important thing. But the other thing to look for when you're buying a website is one of the characteristics of the website itself. And what that comes down to is you need to know what your skills are, know what you're good at, and pick a website which can really leverage, if you like, if I can use such a businessy term, that can leverage those skills. So if you're a content person, if you're really good at writing content, then pick a website that needs content, that on an ongoing basis is going to need more content, and then you can really use your content creation skills to improve that site. On the other hand, if you're a person who is a design-focused person, then maybe what you find is a site that has some really good content, but relatively poor design. Let's put it bluntly, there are plenty of sites out there that look ugly but have great search engine rankings and great content. And if you're a good design person, maybe that's your skill set. If you can find one of those sites and improve the design, you're going to get improved conversions and everything's going to work better. So once again, you're improving the website that you buy using the skills that you already have. That's really what we recommend that people do, is know what skills they have and then leverage those. But the other important thing is to know what you're interested in. Because if you buy a website that's in an area that you know nothing about and don't care about, it's going to be pretty hard for you to motivate yourself to work on that. So it's really important that if you're a reader, you really like books, buy a website that's about books, because you're going to keep yourself interested and you're going to keep working on it so much more strongly than if you bought a website that was about sport when you don't care about sport.
What trends are you seeing in the marketplace right now?
We're seeing some interesting trends. There's been an ongoing trend over the last 6 months or year away from AdSense as a source of revenue, for instance. That's something that we see. We've recently identified, and there are obvious reasons for that, to do with Google's tightening of the AdSense conditions and the fact that AdSense is less lucrative than it used to be as well. So that's on a monetization front. That's a trend that we're definitely seeing. We're also seeing from a kind of top view that there's a real upswell in sites around health-related niches, whether that is dieting or putting on weight if you're a weightlifter. So both sides of that coin are definitely covered. But everything else around health is a really interesting area at the moment for a lot of buyers. That's what we're seeing. There's real demand for sites around health. So those are probably the two biggest trends that we've identified, but there's obviously always a lot more, and that's something that we put out every 3 months or so. We put out a report on those trends so that people can make sense of it and so that people can use all the intelligence that we can collect for them.
Fantastic. If people want to find out more about this, how do they find the site and how do they contact you?
To find the site itself is straightforward. It's flippa.com. Just type it into your browser. That's Flippa. It's not like the dolphin. I have to clarify that because people think maybe it's Flippa the dolphin. It's not. It's Flippa.com. Go to the website and start having a look around. That's the best way to get started, is to start reading some listings, start looking at things that you're interested in. Ideally, if you have an idea of, I said before that you should look for an area that you're interested in. If you have an idea of what that is, then you should start saving some searches and watching some listings that are in that niche. And that will give you a really good way of getting started, especially if you're relatively early in the game, where you're still learning a lot about owning a website and running a website. That's something that we always look to help people. So we have a great deal of really useful information on Flippa itself, and there's a lot that surrounds Flippa that we find it can be really useful for people who are getting started. But the first step is go to Flippa.com and get in there.
And if people want to connect with you, what's your email address?
If people want to contact me directly, that's absolutely fine. Dave@flippa.com. It's just that simple. I'm always interested in hearing from potential Flippa users or current Flippa users. I may not reply in the next half an hour after you email. There are a few emails in my inbox unread at the moment, but what I can promise is that I'll read all the emails that come in, and if there's anything I can do, I'll absolutely help.
Dave, thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Murray.
I'm Murray Newlands. You're watching Performance Marketing Insider TV. I'll see you next time.